What's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to your Wednesday night live stream, the Hump Day edition. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, pleased to be joined by fellow Lifetime Longhorn, young prodigy C.J. Vogel, and the newest member of the On Texas family, my good friend and now co-worker, our own Jeff Howe, is joining us as well. You guys know how it works. Wednesday show, hell, any show that I'm on, guys, you drive the show, right? The show belongs to you. It's a show of the people, for the people, and by the people. So throw out questions, comments, as many of them as you want. We'll try to address as many of them as we can before we get done today. Super chats jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. Got a few topics, some spring football news, notes, and nuggets I want to ask the guys about. There's also a comment that Sark made at the Touchdown Club in Houston that I hadn't got a chance to talk with you guys about, but I want to get to that as well. Kirk Bowles, speaking of H-Town, Kirk Bowles now working for the Houston Chronicle. He had an interesting article that essentially put a dollar amount on the salary cap, basically, for the Longhorn football team. So we'll talk about what the roster is worth, because my man Kirk Bowles has some sources that told him it's a range from this to this, and I don't think the number will shock anybody, but it's a hell of a number. So we'll get to that coming up as well on the show, and of course we can dive into draft discussion still. I mean, I think a lot of Longhorns fans still excited about where the Longhorns ended up in the NFL draft, some of the undrafted free agents as well, so we can still get to some of that stuff if you guys want to. But let's start off here, guys, with the Kirk Bowles story, because I thought it was interesting. So he's working for Houston Chronicle at Chron.com. And Kirk Bowles does a great job. I love Kirk's work. So he wrote an article. I'll just read the article here, the excerpt. He says here, with the addition of 10 football players out of the transfer portal and probably one or two more on the way, the budget for next season's Texas roster has grown as well. He said it currently sits somewhere between 35 and 40 million. Which counts the likely revenue sharing allotment expected to be 20.5 million, somewhere around there. He said a source told him, by the way, a trusted source. He said this also figures to be a one-time exorbitant expense because athletic director of CDC and others have said the school plans to phase out its collective in favor of the revenue sharing via the house settlement whenever that is settled, and of course with name, image, and likeness. He also says here that they did not reveal how many players were making at least $1 million. That's the question I have for you guys. How many $1 million players on this $40 million roster?
Jeff, you want to take a stab at it?
That are made how many 7-figure players are on this roster?
How many $1 million players?
One for sure. With Arch, man, it can't be more than 5, maybe a half dozen at the most, that are legitimately 7-figure guys.
Okay. That's your number? Is that your number, Jeff? Is it 5? What'd you say?
I'm gonna say 6 because
Okay.
I've got what I don't know. I've got an idea of like what Colin Simmons would have earned last year. What he earns as a sophomore? I can see it getting into that range. And there's a few other guys, but yeah, let's not pretend like half the roster's making.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's why I asked, because I was like, those are the guys who are the untouchables, the made men on the team, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. CJ, what's your how many you think are in the $1 million range on the $40 million roster? Somebody said 40 million season look a bit low. Yeah. It should be out of that. It's a big figure. What are your thoughts, CJ?
Yeah, I heard a while back that 35 to 45 million was kind of the ceiling for teams. And look, I know folks are going to make a big deal out of this because it's Texas. It's a lot of money, right? It was a lot of money a few years ago when A&M was close to about 30 million. I know that a lot of folks downplayed that or even denied it, but that's the reality. Now you're starting to see what it takes to put together a big time roster. I think the number last year for Ohio State was around 20 million. That might have just been what they spent out of the portal in that given year, right?
Yeah.
Look, you add a quarterback, you add, Caleb Downs, a lot of these guys that they added, big price tag people. So I think to win a national championship moving forward, you're going to see something in the range of 35 million as kind of your base for teams to compete in the college football playoff. Of course, you'll see the Big 12 team. I don't think that any big team will sniff 30 million in terms of their roster. In terms of individual $1 million players, 6, 7, 8 in that range feels about right. Look, I don't think Texas is north of 10. But I mean, we've certainly seen some of the reports immediately after the 24 season in terms of what Dylan Stewart wanted, and that was multi-millions.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was wanting. I can only imagine that Colin Simmons is in that same area range, that same zip code, if you will, financially. So Texas, look, you got to take care of your quarterback. They've done just that. Now, will Arch Manning go the route of Quinn Ewers? It's certainly feasible, of course, with what we're hearing behind the scenes with Panini, with Red Bull, with Viore, with Waymo and Uber. There's certainly a number of pretty sizable price tags coming in already that the collective can go elsewhere with their spending. So we'll see. Of course, I don't know for certainty, but right now I'd say in the high single digits. But that price tag to me doesn't surprise me. I would say in this current age of where the portal's at and where Texas is in terms of getting over the hump, you got to spend to get there.
Yeah, no.
Especially if you're including the 20 million plus rev share money in that. So you're saying, so from the Texas One Fund, that'd be 15 to 20 million. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, the number isn't surprised. I mean, Texas has had arguably, in the last 2 years, based on draft picks, 23 of them in the last 2 years, make the argument they've had one of, if not the most talented roster in college football. And it costs money to have a roster like that these days. Mm-hmm. All right. So, I just want to throw that out there. I thought that was an interesting piece from Kirk Bowles earlier. Okay, something, and I know you guys have got the questions coming, so we'll get to the questions. Something else that I wanted to ask you guys about, because you both, Jeff, you went to the H-Town Sark,
touchdown club,
clubs, where you basically got a chance to speak to the fans. It was the kind of town hall for a lot of H-Town Longhorn fans who got a chance to speak to Sark. And he said something in that at that touchdown club about getting back to running the football. And I'm paraphrasing, but he basically kind of said, like, that's what we gotta do next season. We got to get back to running the football and being able to run it effectively and in a number of different ways. And it was interesting the way that he kind of phrased it here, because I actually have the quote here to make sure. So here's Sark talking about, and like I said, he basically talked about this at the touchdown club. He said, we've got to get back to running the football the way we know how to do it, which is a physical brand of football, because that allows us to utilize the play action pass. Getting Cedric Baxter back will be big for us, to go along with Trey Wisner, a returning 1,000-yard rusher with us, to go along with Jarrett Gibson, Christian Clark, and a lot of these younger backs. And I think that might be one of his tasks this offseason. Sark will take it upon himself to have, kind of a special projects in the offseason to help, kind of overcome certain hurdles based on issues the team may have dealt with last season. And I think one of the things he wants to remedy this offseason is the run game. And it's strange, what people don't realize in studying Sark's offense, I've realized it, is that it's built around quarterbacks. It's got a lot of great wide receivers, right? Texas has, I think in the last, 3 years, they've had the second, third most wide receivers drafted like in the last, 2 years. So it's a really good offense for wide receivers. Offensive line, we've talked about that now, also taking a step, first round offensive lineman drafted since Mike Williams in 2002. But I think people oftentimes overlook how important the running game is in Sark's offense, because you get obsessed and fixated with the pass, right? And how spectacular the passing plays are and the weapons in the passing game. But the truth is, although Sark's offense is, I think it sells a lot of the passing game, especially quarterbacks and the wide receivers. But the value of the actual offense, a lot of the value of it is built in the running game. Like your RPO game is built in the running game principles. Your play action pass, that's built off the running game. Your screen game, a lot of your actual, I say more than 50% of the passing concepts have play action, RPO, run deception, right? Strategies built in them or concepts built within them. So to me, I think he's right about that. The weird thing is, like, I think a lot of fans get obsessed with the passing game, but a big reason for the regression probably of Quinn last season was because the running game really didn't have a lot of variety, and it wasn't able to run at will. At times it was. Against the Clemson it did. But I think for the most part, all season long, they had to kind of pick and choose what concepts were most successful and effective based on the backs that were available. And also sometimes the competition they faced only allowed them to do certain things, sometimes nothing at all in the running game, right? They weren't able to do what they want. They didn't impose their will in the running game. They oftentimes accepted what the circumstance would be in the running game. And I think he wants to now change that in the offseason.
Yeah, after a year of frustration, this would be the time to do that, right? You could look at every single loss that Texas had last year, and I think when you combine the yards ran for in those losses, you're probably right around 100, and that's not great for 3 games, right? So I'd love to see the running game going. Now, Jeff, you've made the point throughout the offseason already, and I'll give you a lot of credit here. Look, you have to find the strength of the offensive line before you start forcing the run game. Now, with the brand new bunch up front, what will that strength be? Is it inside zone? Is it power? Is it outside zone? That kind of remains to be seen. Of course, we've heard towards the back end of the spring, the defensive line actually had some pretty solid outings in terms of some of those short yardage situations. Not to say that the offensive line itself didn't have success, but maybe a bit more about the defensive side of the ball that I was expecting. Of course, with this kind of a hodgepodge group, right? You didn't have Travis Shaw a whole lot. I think Cole Brevard's going to be pretty good. I think Alex January is going to be really good. But Hero Kanu, I think, will be a rotational piece. Melvin Hill's a rotational piece. I wouldn't say you necessarily had a true SEC front line of defensive linemen prevalent on the field in the fall or in the spring, excuse me. So I was kind of expecting to hear more and more about that offensive line pushing the big bodies up front to win some of those short yardage situations, and it felt pretty even, give or take a few series. So what's going to be that strength? And will that change at all with CJ Baxter coming back to the field? It's going to be a wait and see until the fall camp comes rolling around, because right now you just don't know. And I don't know if that's concerning or not. Maybe it'll be a bit of a breath of fresh air whenever Baxter returns and you get some of these guys fully back into another 4 or 5 months of preparation for the season. So we'll see. But right now, you can't force it, but you got to live with what you got. And I don't know if what you got is going to be transcending what you saw last year.
I think the big thing, piggybacking off that, CJ, is what you've got is just going to be different. I think that's the big thing offensively for me. You know, Jerry, Bobby, and myself, we did State of the Program today, which, by the way, get on the channel and get that. It was a long version, but we basically went down the roster by position and said, hey, is Texas better or worse in 2025 than they were in 2024? And as we're going through it, that was kind of my thought with pretty much every position on offense almost is, yeah, there's somewhere you're clearly better and somewhere you can see they're worse, but it's just going to be different. You know, really running back is one of those where, you know, losing Jaden Blue, you're going to lose a lot of the passing game element that you had from the running back position, just in terms of being that diverse and that dynamic. But if CJ Baxter's back, and whether he's back or not, you know, if you can get, you know, Jarrett Gibson to hang on to the football and you get something from James Simon, then you may be a team that's better equipped to be a really good short yardage, red zone, goal line type offense with the offensive line you've got and with the kind of backs you've got. You know, the play action pass is going to have to be there because I think that's what's going to accentuate Arch's strengths. It's the throws outside the numbers, further down the field. You know, we talked about it, the deep comebacks, those deep outs, the deep in cuts, stuff that's going to take a lot of time to develop. That's Arch's strength, where he can really drive the ball down the field. And you're going to need the run game to do that, where you can have really hard play action and get the defense to freeze. So I think we've talked about it a lot just in terms of where the offense can improve. And I do think they can be a better red zone offense. They should be a better third down offense. They shouldn't turn the ball over as much. I just think we probably, and the royal we as in within Longhorn Nation, just need to get our heads right for. It's probably just going to be a little bit different. It's got a chance to be just as effective, if not more, but just a little bit different than what we've seen the last couple of years.
And we all were thinking, that bringing in Neil Brown, he could be some type of catalyst to help Texas with the run game, juice it up somehow, add some new elements to Sark's run game, maybe a little bit more variety to it. Something that you've been talking about, Jeff, and I've heard you say it a couple of times, and it is pretty interesting about Neil Brown's role so far, at least what can be observed, is that he's hanging out with Arch a lot.
Yeah.
And you talked about that. And I think he's a quarterback guy too by background. He's been a quarterback coach before he was a head coach, if I'm not mistaken. He was a wide receiver by trade, coached wide receivers, and I think also ended up being an OC and a QB coach.
Yeah.
How about this theory? You guys know if I'm way off here. So, because maybe Neil Brown's doing stuff in the run game, maybe not, just going off what is being observed. And what Jeff said that, hey, he's at least, you can tell that he is whispering in the ear of Arch a little bit, and it's not for X's and O's, as you said, Jeff. It's more about, hey, the right mindset, attitude, really having, the right, overall mentality as a quarterback, right? It's more about that than it is about the X's and O's and stuff on the field. Right. What if he's got that Sark's idea for Neil Brown, maybe in addition to the run game, is, hey, I need you working with my QBs a little more, because there was a regression last year with Quinn. And maybe I would like Milwee to have a little help over there with the QBs. So hang out with the QBs a little bit more. Yeah, when we're in the film room, we can talk run game and all that. Yeah. All right, we can do that kind of install. But when you're out there on the field, I'd like you to hang out with our quarterbacks. Because last year, man, unfortunately, our quarterbacks had a regression, and we got to account for that. So, because I was trying to go, man, why is he hanging out with the QBs a lot? I mean, he's a quarterback, so that's good. But maybe that's the reason why.
I think
quarterback.
You're onto something, Rod. And here's why I think that. I'll pick up what you're putting down, because I think it's just about getting fresh ideas in that quarterback room, and just whether it's drills or philosophy or whatever. Sark and AJ Milwee have been doing this together for a long time, and Paul Christ was in this program for a year, but it was a different role than the one Neil Brown's got, because the rules didn't allow Paul Christ to do things to the extent that Neil Brown's allowed to do them. So I think this is Sark just taking advantage, and not that they're going to reinvent how they develop quarterbacks, but I think if the bigger thing for me is, and CJ, you can speak to how, KJ Lacey and Diabell even fit into this. If the quarterback run game with Arch is going to be a bigger part of the offense, I think that when you look at the guys Sark is recruiting, I think you might as well figure out what's our foundational pieces to our quarterback run game. How big do we want it to get? And within those parameters, what can Neil Brown help us do to where we've got some staple things in the quarterback run game that we can go to in different situations against different fronts or different personnel or whatever. So I think it's a little bit of everything, but no, I'm with you, Rod. I think it's probably just, it doesn't hurt to get fresh ideas into the room.
Yeah, and speaking on the other quarterbacks in that room, right, there were a few times this spring where Trey Owens' legs were mentioned. I think that might be a bit of a surprise at 6'5", 235. I mean, that's a big quarterback. Didn't necessarily run a whole lot in high school, but he moved around and maneuvers around in the pocket very well. How often will you see Trey Owens use his legs? Should he be in a live game situation? I'd say probably not too often, but the ability is there. The capability to take off and escape, I think, is going to be one of his stronger factors. Now for KJ Lacey, we know that that's kind of his mentality, is to run, to escape, to create, and to extend. Of course, coming with that basketball background, that ability that he has to extend plays, to roll outside the pocket, maintaining that direction down the field and finding where the ball needs to go is very much like a point guard, right? We've talked about that since he signed and really committed to Texas. We heard a lot about the two of them using their legs maybe a little bit more this year. Now, again, I don't think that's going to be the expectation should they get on the field early, but for Arch, I certainly expect that to be the case. And now, Jeff, to your point about what Texas can get out of a Neil Brown, hey, know when to go down. Know when to not take that big hit, because Arch took a number of big hits in a limited amount of time last year, especially late in the season against Ohio State. know when to go down, know when to see another day. I think Texas is going to take a step forward in terms of pocket awareness, pocket extension, throwing the ball away, even taking some positive yards. But for Arch especially, it's almost worth it to just take 5 when you can get 10 if that means you're not getting hit as hard as he was last year.
Yeah, and I like that. I hear you guys talking about the quarterbacks this spring were moving around more. I think that's just the quarterbacks are different now, right? You have just a better athletic profile. You have more mobility, functional mobility with your quarterbacks, aside from Trey Owens, but even him, like you said, he was moving around. Random theory, if you look at the schedule next year, Texas plays a lot of QBs that can move, ton of them. I mean, Diego Pavia can run, Taylor Green, Marcel Reed can run. They got Gunnar Stockton in Georgia. I mean, DJ Lagway gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be like half the schedule. John Mateer, that transfer from Washington State for Oklahoma, he can run.
Marcel Reed.
Yeah, like half the schedule is gonna be legitimate dual threat QBs. And I do wonder if already the coaches are looking at it and going, man, let's let our defense get used to quarterbacks that can move. Let them get used to it. These young, defense, that should always be on, contained should always be on their mind. They should always be concerned, or at least always should be I think an emphasis, if you will, considering half the damn schedule next year that we know of, by the way. Who knows what Ohio State's going to do a quarterback and all that kind of stuff, but half the schedule we know of is going to be quarterbacks moving. I wonder if the coaches are like, no, we want these quarterbacks moving around. Let's test this defense because that's going to be a cheat code they're going to have to figure out next season. And you don't want to get caught off guard by it. It should be, I think, something you almost bake into your defense now, considering how often you're going to see it.
And I think this is where the versatility, you've got a linebacker and safety when you think about Anthony Hill and Brad Spence, but I'm thinking more too about a guy like Anthony Smith. Yeah, you look at Jelani McDonald would fit in this role. Derek Williams coming back, who's probably your best run support safety. Derek Williams is.
He's alley. Jelani McDonald and I'm with you.
So I think you've got enough versatility that you think about the concept of spying, but spying it means a lot more than just, hey, put your inside linebacker on the quarterback and have him follow. You can spy from different parts of the field. You can spy from different levels. You could do different things to get after a running quarterback. And I think that's another part of the reason of moving Trey Moore off the ball. If we want to get really deep in the weeds with this, Rod, I think part of that's moving Trey Moore off the ball to where, man, if you want to play with 4 linebackers, you have the ability to do that if you want. So to be able to cover ground and mirror that running quarterback. So I think there's something to that, what you're talking about. But at the end of the day, if I'm power ranking the reasons why you would kind of force the issue of making quarterback run more of a priority than it's been, let's put it that way. I still think it just goes back to, above all else, is maximizing Arch. I think Sark understands like the unique talent Arch is and how close you are to winning a national championship. I think the worst thing for him would be, whenever Arch leaves for the NFL, he doesn't want to sit there saying, I wish I would have done this, or we probably could have done this. Man, you left some meat on the bone. He doesn't want that. I don't think any of us doing this show right now or anybody listening wants that. So I just think it's all Sark just doubling down, tripling down on what can I do to get the absolute most out of this unique skill set that I may never coach again.
Yeah. I think the quarterback mobility is going to be a big topic on the 40 acres next season for Texas because of Arch, as we talked about. I think it's going to be more the scrambling element more so than design runs, but design runs as well. And I think defending mobile quarterbacks too. We're going to be talking about it a lot. I will say PK has done a pretty damn good job though since he's been here. Yeah. I mean, every now and then you'll get, but the quarterbacks that have heard him haven't been designed runs for QBs. It's mostly broken plays, scrambles, second reaction plays. That's been mostly what it is. Improv, off script plays by quarterbacks that have heard him. That's a lot what Dylan Gabriel did when he was scrambling. Remember Michael Penix scrambling a little bit, getting Texas, making some plays. Sam Levitt scrambling. But by the way, nobody can come up with a game plan to defend the scramble drill, guys. That's why it's so tough. It's one of the toughest plays to defend because there is no blueprint for it defensively. Everybody's improving. Everybody's freestyle at that point, because even the routes, they have a different route that they run for a scramble drill once the initial play is over. So that's totally off script. You got to have guys with great instincts and guys who kind of know ball, because those are broken plays. Turns into street ball. It's like back when Johnny Manziel would just be running around. Those Johnny be running around, and then it's just streaking down the field, chunk it up to him. That's honestly, Arch ain't gonna do that. But I think Texas will practice the scramble drill now too.
But even with
Arch, worry about that with Quinn.
No.
Worry about it. And they were terrible at it when Sam was here.
I put that on the receiver guru head coach for Texas being terrible at it when Sam was here, because Sam wasn't the problem. But I digress. We can save that for another day.
That's true.
Even if you look at Arch, guys, like think back to his first touchdown last year, his first career touchdown. It was a broken play.
Yeah.
And as much as you, and rightfully so, you credit Arch for keeping the play alive and looking for an open receiver. Credit Silas Bolden for having a great understanding of keeping yourself alive in a scramble drill. If I'm Chris Jackson, I would have started spring. That's in my first meeting. That's the first play I would have put up. Is we're going to talk a lot about the discipline you need to run in this offense, how structured things are, blah, 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 blah. But understand how unique your quarterback is, and your head has got to be on a swivel at all times and be prepared for the unexpected. So we've gotten to, like a lot of things with Arch, guys, we've gotten a taste of it, and it's good. Now we just get to see what it looks like extrapolated out over a whole season.
I agree. Speaking of tasting good, let's talk about Flat Creek Estate Winery. This is actually the vineyard closest to Austin. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Flat Creek Estate Winery is just minutes from downtown Austin, and they've won award after award this year for their vintage wine, Super Texan. Super Texan is now available at your local Specs. I was at the Fan Fest, had a member of the On Texas football family call to me and say, Rod B, thanks for recommending the Super Texan. Don't thank me. Thank our good friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Also, I saw a display at our local Central Market, so the good word is getting out about the great wines at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Flat Creek is also a gorgeous venue with barbecues, wine tastings every single weekend, wine tours as well. I'm trying to get wifey out there as soon as we can get a good babysitter. But it's perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. I've taken those tours, and they are fantastic. Went there and took one. Actually, Bobby and I got a chance to tour the ground there at Flat Creek. So you should make it a special occasion, or you can go out there just to enjoy a weekend with your significant other, a weekend getaway. Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Really appreciate all of their support of Orange Texas football. All right, let's get to the questions, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we got super chat here. Michelle Lynn. Thank you, Michelle, for the super chat. Is Nick Brooks off the team? I don't think so. No, he's still on the team, right?
No, he is not off the team. Of course, I would imagine that Sarkisian has some sort of in-house punishment that will take place this summer, maybe even lingering into the fall a little bit. Nothing has been made public out of Moncrief, and I don't expect anything to be made public out of Moncrief unless there is some sort of suspension. But no, he will be on the team this fall. There will be, again, a punishment, but no, he'll be on the team.
Yeah, this Fox 7 had this report earlier today, or at least maybe it came out yesterday. So according to the arrest warrant, he was speeding. That's why he got stopped. So he was going 47 in the 30, according to the arrest warrant. And he was on West 6th Street, which can't be on West 6th Street on the weekend. Ain't nothing but laws down there, man. They everywhere. So
it's a rookie mistake.
That's a dang rookie mistake. Come on now? They got to bring Rob B back to coach these dudes up. We making mistakes like this now.
That's fundamental, Rod.
I mean, you learn that lesson when you first get to the office. Like, man, don't mess around on 6th Street at all, because a lot of cops are down there. Anyway, first mistake. All right, that was a rookie mistake. And then apparently he told the officer that he was coming from apparently according to the arrest warrant, coming from a 21 and up club on West that makes exceptions for UT football players. By the way, also true, but don't tell the police that.
Yeah.
Don't be telling them who's hooking us up. All right, so we can help recruit the young guys because that is also illegal.
Yeah.
Don't be doing that either. Okay.
Now, I don't know what state Nick Brooks was in, but CB mentions it in the chat. And in the words of the great Ron White, you have the right to remain silent.
Amen. Hey,
you just may not have the ability to remain silent.
Yeah, he was a chatty Cathy. He's like, why you feeling so? Well, we know why he was so chatty.
I bet there's some anxiety in there. You got the heart beating a little bit. I'm just going to say some words and maybe calm down. It just wasn't the right words. And
wasn't the right
words. I'm sure there will be a lesson, Rod. Maybe you could speak to this. I'm sure there's going to be some lesson from somebody in Moncrief. Hey, if you're ever in this situation, zip it. Don't say a word.
Yes. There you go. That's a great point. You should just, if you tell them all, just shut up. Just shut up at that point. Especially once you know you're going to jail, just shut up. Or just say lawyer. Thank you, Michelle. Lawyer or shut up. Don't say a damn thing at this point. Because, yeah, he actually apparently also admitted that he was taking 2 prospective players to the strip club.
Oh!
They were heading also to a place that you have to be 21 up to drink on.
Oh.
Yeah. So he admitted multiple times that he was breaking the law or about to do it. Blow like a 0.0, right? But he admitted that he had smoked marijuana prior to driving, and then they had a vape pen that was also found. In addition to him admitting that he smoked marijuana.
This was a
So please
I really hope that this ends up being a really, really talented player making one really, really dumb decision and not doing it again. I understand the consequences, and honestly, the court of public opinion, I think, is probably going to end up being harsher than whatever punishment he's going to face from the legal system. Probably not harsher than whatever punishment he's going to face from SART. But yeah, this will be one where hopefully this is the last time we're talking about Nick Brooks and something like this.
Yeah, a good lawyer can
drop this.
Can a good lawyer drop this DWI down though? I mean, they can drop because he blew a 0.0 and then it was very extenuating circumstance. If he gets a really good lawyer, they can get that charge reduced. I guarantee you. It's all about and Texas can get him a good lawyer.
Yeah,
we have a discussion about the guys on the team and how they're supposed to be mentoring the younger guys about how to conduct themselves, or what you're supposed to be mentioning to police, and really what you're supposed to keep in the family. Like, you're supposed to tell nobody that a club is letting underage guys into the club. You ain't gonna tell nobody that. Don't tell nobody what's going on. All right, Rod B can talk about it because I'm old and I'm past, 20 some years. I talk about what
statute of limitations on there, Rod.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I can talk about it, what I did. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, Rod B did that back in the day. That's probably not still going on. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you know what? Probably at the same place Rod B was going, the flower shop. I know what I'm talking about. I won't say the name. Boom. The flower shop.
There was a recruit several years ago. Way back, when I first started getting into the recruiting side, who was very open about his experience in Austin. And at some point, you get the phone, you're sitting there, you're interviewing, you're like, all right, like, how'd it go? And some of these details, just can't ever go to print. And immediately it's one of those, hey, I'm going to pause this. And I'm going to tell you. Don't tell anybody else.
Exactly. Come on, man. There's all types of violations in here. There are laws you broke. You don't know. Don't mention that stuff. There you go. See, CJ, that's the kind of stuff I was hoping that the guys would be telling these younger guys. So Nick Brooks coming in. By the way, Nick Brooks, he's one of the players. There's probably about 5 or 6 players. Every time you go over there to the 40 acres, I've been over there for Pro Day, Fan Fest. They're talking about, oh man, this young dude is a dude. Like, he's legit. Like, he's special. So he's going to be special. He's going to be fine. All right. He's going to make better decisions. But I'm upset with the team and the leaders on the team because there's supposed to be kind of a symposium where you get the young guys caught up. with what's going on. All right. And usually it's done in the position rooms. So I'm gonna get on the veteran O-lineman. That's just on y'all. That young buck comes in the room, y'all supposed to get them right. Like, hey, all right, this is how it goes down, man. On 6th Street, this is what you need to do. Boom, boom, boom. We don't talk about these things outside the family, but this is what we do. We got the hook up here. We got it here. We got it here. All right. Don't tell nobody that. That's how it works. All right. That means, they didn't give him the talk. He didn't get the talk from the leaders. I remember getting the talk from Kwame Cavill and guys like D.D. Lewis, Big Casey Hampton. I got to talk about, all right, hey, this is stuff. These are privileges that the family has, all right, as a result of your status. But hey, we don't abuse it, and we don't share that information because that's information that can get our friends in trouble. And these are friends of the program. All right, friends. Come on now.
Most of this will get reduced. Now, the incident I'm about to bring up is, Rod, this was the spring after you departed Texas. Well, think about these guys and how many guys were problems after this. Of course, this would be a great time for something to reload. In 2003, Edoria McCullough, Larry Dibble, Selvin Young, and Aaron Harris were driving in a car, got pulled over. I believe it was for failure to signal either a lane change or an exit. Police found a bag of the good stuff in an air vent. They were all arrested on possession charges. Charges were dropped against all of them in July. So 2 things. One, this stuff usually gets pleaded down, if not dismissed.
That's true.
And 2, 3 of those guys were on your national championship team. So, and I don't recall being problems after that. I could be wrong, but I don't remember Selvin Young, Aaron Harris, or Larry Dibbles causing any kind of problems thereafter. So
yeah. No, I don't think it's a trouble thing either. I don't think he's like a troublemaker or anything like that either. I think he did what I did when I was 18, did stupid stuff. Just made a dumb decision. But so I think he'll be fine. And like I said, he's really, really talented. But like I said, I'm upset with the leaders on the team. Like, hey, I should make sure the young buck is educated. All right. And I agree with somebody else in the chat. They should have lawyers, and I don't know if they do have lawyers come out and talk to the guys about what to say in different situations that you're in. You get stopped. That I'm sure they do. I don't know if we did. I don't think we did, but they should. That's a great. You should just at least know how to what to say or what not to say.
Yeah. In this case, was A, B, and C in the report.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe if they don't do it, maybe they'll do it now. Yeah. Maybe they'll do it now. All right. There you go. So that's enough Nick Brooks stuff there. I think the young man will learn the lesson. And I'll say this about Sark, though. We don't get a lot. The reason we're talking, we don't get a lot of these stories from Sark's teams. Like, there have not been a lot of these. Right? That's, I think, a product of the culture. There have not been a lot of these stories where guys are getting in trouble off the field or making bad decisions off the field. So I think that's a credit to Sark. All right. Thank you, Michelle, for the super chat. How about this one? Sinbad, thank you for the super chat. Who's y'all breakout player this season? Thank you for the super chat, Sinbad. Breakout player. Breakout player, does that mean somebody who is not like already a star on the team or already a starter? Like, what's our definition of breakout? Where are they breaking out from? Like, are they a new starter this year? Or are they just somebody who hasn't gotten any national acclaim yet?
No, yeah. I'm gonna go with Neto being a first-time starter.
Okay.
I think he could be a difference in the run game on the offensive line.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
It sure would be big. I think a popular choice can be Jelani McDonald. I'll stick on the offensive side with you, Jeff. I just heard too many things about Parker Livingstone. He was too often the name. And I know that there wasn't a Wingo. I know that there wasn't a Moore. When Wingo did return, we heard his name actually had a really, really big final scrimmage for the Longhorns. The longest touchdown of the day went to Wingo. A few other acrobatic catches went to Wingo. But if you can have somebody on the opposite side of the ball that alleviates that coverage stress on a Ryan Wingo, that's going to be huge. Is it an Emmett Mosley? Is it a Parker Livingstone? We know DeAndre Moore is going to be pretty good over in the slot. I actually kind of predict right now that Moore will be the guy with the most catches this year for Texas. But I do think that having that leg up on the playbook, knowing multiple positions, is going to help Parker Livingstone quite a bit here. Defensively, look, I think it might be a really really big year for Jelani McDonald, especially with a Derek Williams who might be easing into that rotation again. You might be looking at a massive year for Jelani.
Yeah, Michael Taft said that too. He pretty much kind of foreshadowed like, oh, he's going to be doing some wild, freaky stuff on the football field. I agree with those. I'll throw out because I agree with all you guys' suggestions. First of all, are we saying who are the breakout players on last year's team? Because Gunnar Helm, Trey Wisner.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. DeAndre Moore.
Can we throw yeah, it's a good one. Can throw Jaden Blue, I guess, in there too. I mean,
Cam Williams.
Cam Williams is a good one. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out
season, I guess.
I'm gonna go with somebody that you guys didn't say because I like all of your suggestions. How about Alex January?
Cisco Diaz just mentioned him in the chat too.
Yeah. I've been hearing good things about Alex January. I know they brought in a lot of good detail. I don't think they brought them in just because they don't like what they see in Alex January. And I heard too many good things about the young man coming in, and I continue to hear good things about him. I wonder if he could be one of those guys that first of all breaks into that rotation at D tackle because there'll probably be a four-man rotation when it's all said and done. I think he will be one of those guys, but I wonder if he'll be one of those guys that can also be an early down run stuffer for you and be a pass rusher on later down. So I'll go with Alex January.
I like that pick.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Texas defensive tackles, and typically it's a slow burn for those guys. You know, think about Marcus Tubbs.
It takes a while.
Roy Miller, Malcolm Brown, Rod Wright. Honestly, is kind of the one exception, but you start thinking about the really good defensive tackles Texas had. Usually takes them a year or two.
It does
to figure it out. So what I'm expecting from Alex January, Rod. Yeah, he's going to get a lot more snaps, a lot more opportunities. Is this the year where you really start? Okay, like the light's coming on, and then in 26, it's going to be like, all right, do you have a guy who's one of the best, a top 10-ish defensive tackle in the SEC?
Yeah, no, it's a good point about the slow burn though with D tackle. You are right about that. At Texas, that has been the case for the most part. All right, thank you guys for the super chat. All right, let's get to more questions here. How about this one from the Lotion Boy? Said, let's cut to the chase. How's Brandon Baker looking? Throw that to you, CJ. How's Brandon Baker looking?
Good. I think he finished the spring very strong. I think the staff likes what they have. Of course, there's some back or forth there early with Andre Kojo. I know that they moved Nick Brooks over every now and then to see what he could provide at right tackle as well. But Brandon Baker is going to be your guy. And I think, that 5-star, title that he had in high school, I think you're going to see that in pass protection. I think that it's still a bit of a work in progress in the run game at the moment. Of course, that's what you expect for a second-year guy at the tackle spot. But overall, I think the staff is very pleased with Brandon Baker, and I think that there are really high expectations for what he's stepping into in the right tackle spot. Unfortunately, Texas will have him for 2 years at the very minimum at the right tackle spot. So really solid spring all the way around. And I think right now the pass protection above anything else is going to be something that you see immediately jumping off the page when he's on the field.
I'll back you up on that, CJ. To me, the fact that he had a much better second half of spring than the first half from everything we heard, that tells you that when, Andre Kojo started pushing and they moved Nick Brooks over there, they put his feet to the fire a little bit and he responded. So that to me tells me, hey, this is a young guy where the staff's like, hey, you need to pick it up a little bit. And he did. So hopefully he's on a good trajectory now. But yeah, strong. That was the big takeaway with Brandon Baker. Strong second half of spring compared to his first half.
That's good stuff. All right. Thank you for the question there, Lotion Boy. W.A. Jones had a question. Says, when is the last time Texas had a first game of the year of this magnitude? Thank you, W.A. Jones. Facing a team that defending champion, which they did face when they faced Michigan, but then going to Ohio State
for the opener. I've got two answers.
Okay.
In the moment, the 2016 home opener against Notre Dame. That was the top 10 Notre Dame team, and we all know the fool's gold that became. But also probably in hindsight, 1990 season opener at Penn State. You go to State College, go to Happy Valley, Beaver Stadium. Shock the Nation tour begins with a win over Penn State. So that's pretty big. That's pretty big, Rod.
That's really big. Yeah. I mean, it's been a while. It just shows you if that's the case. It's been a while since Texas had a first game of the year of this magnitude. And it is interesting because, at least last year you got a little bit of a, kind of a scrimmage to start off with. It felt kind of like a preseason game before that Michigan contest. This year you come right out of the gate. So it will be interesting to see their, mentality in terms of roster management and reps in that game, because whoever plays in that game, I'm assuming that's who they trust. Like that's Ohio State on the road. So we'll see, but it's a good point there, W.A. Jones. How about this one from Donald?
Now, hey, I'll say this, Rod. Yeah. You played in one of the most significant openers of Mac Brown's tenure. Your first college game was that 99 game against NC State, where
that was horrible.
Terrence Holt gets drafted off of that film, but hey, Mac took special teams serious as a heart attack from that day forward. And in the decade of the 2000s, other than K-State and Virginia Tech, Texas had the best special teams in the country pretty much for an entire decade.
Yeah. No, it just took being embarrassed in front of your home crowd like that to do it. 3 blocked punts in one game. That's some Charlie Strong stuff.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It really is. Like that was an empty. I mean, we were all embarrassed. That was shameful. And you're right. It was Mac, but also the players. Our focus on special teams changed as well. It was no longer just the other phase of the game. It became in a lot of ways the phase. And the coaches, the assistant coaches started taking it more seriously, like Coach McCrary and Coach Akina. The culture of special teams changed that day, Jeff. You're right. And then Mac just devoted more periods. I believe we doubled the amount of special teams periods in practice. Like after that, I think we went from like I think it was like 2 to like 4.
Oh, Rod, you're muted.
Oh, we got a faulty cord.
Yeah, my
special teams back in the day just
fell
apart.
Sorry about that. All right. Appreciate that. All right. Good point there, Jeff. Getting back to it. How about this one from Donald Britt? He says, "Will Arch replace Quinn for Dr. Pepper?" That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know if Dr. Pepper's. I don't know if the Manning family's putting Dr. Pepper in the NIL portfolio or not. I don't know, CJ. I don't know if you've heard the dollar figures, but apparently this Panini, the memorabilia deal Arch signed. I mean, it's between the card deal and the memorabilia deal. Panini's paying Arch a pretty healthy sum at this point, I would imagine.
Yeah, if you don't come with 2 commas for Arch, I would imagine that phone's not being picked up. To put it lightly, they got their price, and deservedly so. I actually think Dr. Pepper should go get Carson Beck. And hear me out on this.
Wow.
Hear me out, because it's Bosworth is the sheriff, right, or the town deputy.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for his stolen cars, right? He moved to Miami and he gets a Lamborghini Urus stolen. Yeah, the writing's on the wall. I don't know if they even found the cars or not, but I think that'd be brilliant.
That's awesome. And you know what? That felt like an inside job too. I'm sorry. Did they ever find out who stole his cars?
I don't know, but hey, I could write the script right now. Bosworth comes up and he said, "Hey, I don't know what type of car I'm looking for. The police report's incomplete." And then they pan straight to Carson Beck. It goes,
CJ is on it. That's great. Oh, that's a great troll job there. That's fantastic. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure once, I don't know. Once Arch gets starting, he'll be turning down NIL deals at that point. They're probably already turning down deals just because they can be selective in who they want, try to craft the image of what Arch is. CJ fixed to get a call from Dr. Pepper. Hey, man, that was a great idea. I don't know if Carson Beck will be on board. Didn't he break up with the young lady he was dating down there too, the Cavender?
One of the Cavender twins. Apparently, she broke up with him.
Oh, she broke up with him.
She didn't really kind words to say.
Didn't he go there for her though? Part of the reason he went there was for her. I'm sure in the money too.
Part of the NIL deal, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Yes. I don't know where he parked his nice cars though. I think that might be on him too. You got to have a garage for your nice car. Yeah. You park your nice car just out in the parking lot like that.
And let's be real, it's an auto theft in South Florida. That thing's not getting solved. You ain't never seen that car again.
Yeah, that thing's already on a boat.
All right, getting back to it. Shivam says, "What's up, guys? What are your expectations for Jalen Gilbo in the fall?" Oh, that is good. I don't know. I feel like right now, Jalen Gilbo could end up starting at that corner spot too. I still think that's a possibility if they don't if one of those corners don't, separate themselves. And I think right now they like a lot of what the guys are doing. I think they want somebody to separate and leave no doubt that they are the starting corner. And I don't know if that's happened yet. Now that may happen in training camp.
Yeah.
And then but if they don't happen, guys, I think there's still a chance Jalen Gilbo plays the corner spot potentially.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting is what if you get to fall camp and the far and away best option opposite of Manny Muhammad is Kobe Black? What if he just takes that leap over the summer?
That's
then
great.
What do you do?
It's awesome.
With Jalen Gilbo, do you move him back to the interior where it sounds like Wardell Mack has had a pretty solid spring? Do they trade off reps then? Because right now, I don't know. I didn't hear enough really in terms of separation. We heard Warren Roberson had a solid spring. We heard Kobe Black's name pretty often. But where's a Cade Phillips in the mix? Where's a Santana Wilson? How does Jalen Gilbo fend these guys off? Does he then move to the opposite side? And Rod, again, we've talked about moving to more man coverage. Is there still a wide side of the field corner versus, that tight, who knows, man, it's going to be interesting, but you got plenty of options. And the one concern I would say I have about the cornerback room, it's not the talent itself, right? I'm not expecting the secondary to have the numbers that they did, a year ago. Obviously, you're playing better quarterbacks this year. You don't have the Thorpe winner. You don't have Andrew Makuba. But I think you have enough talent to be really competitive. On top of that, I think you're going to have a better edge rush. So, you pick and choose some of the pros and cons of what this secondary could look like in theory. I think it's going to be good. Maybe not as good as a year ago, but certainly not to the point where it falls off a cliff back to 2023. The big key for me, and Rod, you can speak on this as well, communication has to be key. And as long as Michael Tabb is on the field, I have no doubt that that's going to be another strength of this defense next fall.
Yeah, I think the pecking order in the secondary is one of those things that's going to evolve throughout non-conference play. Because against Ohio State,
exactly,
Derek Williams coming back is going to be a big part of that. Because if he's back, I would assume the guys you want gobbling up most of your reps are your experienced guys.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean for the corner spot? I don't know, but CJ, another guy. You mentioned a lot of guys. Hey, we heard Grayson Littleton's name quite a bit.
Yeah,
back out in practice. So I think this could be one of those deals where maybe you're starting your 5 defensive backs that are on the field first against Ohio State are Gilbo, Jelani McDonald Gilbo at corner, McDonald at nickel, Manny Muhammad at corner with Derek Williams and Michael Taff. After that, based on how those freshmen are learning it, I think you've got enough veteran talent to where you can insulate the freshmen a little bit and the more inexperienced guys to where you're not going to get caught. And this is a game where you don't want to get caught with, like, if you're playing a base nickel, you don't want to get caught with like 3 or 4 defensive backs out there that have very little experience.
Yeah.
Ohio State receivers. No. So, you can, with Gilbo's got some flexibility, McDonald's got some flexibility. But I think between those two guys in that corner spot and the nickel spot, I think you can be versatile enough to where you can mix it up.
Yeah, and Lotion Board, just real quick, Wardell Mack's been playing that star spot, that nickel spot the entire spring. We haven't seen him or heard of him playing the outside corner just yet.
I like what you brought up there, Jeff. I think it's interesting. I wonder for that Ohio State game, like I said, you got to put people out there you trust. To your point, you want veterans out there. And I like your ideas. Like, no, we're gonna have a secondary for the Ohio State game. But by the time we get to, the second part of the schedule or deep into SEC play, at that point you could see maybe the cornerback start to that corner is obviously Muhammad, earn that trust, separate at that point, and then the transmogrification of the secondary could take place where then they could switch and put Gilbo back inside or something like that, or put Jelani McDonald back up to the safety, however they put their best 5 on the field, which I think Coach Aquino will try to do. So I agree with you. I think the way the secondary looks versus Ohio State could look very different versus A&M by the end of the year.
Yeah. If I'm a part of that defensive brain trust, I'm thinking, and again, stop me if you heard me use this line. I'm thinking by the time I go to Gainesville to play Florida to open SEC play, I want to know who my let's say 8 best defensive backs are, because that's going to be the 8 that get me through SEC play, assuming they're healthy. And then you've got a couple guys that, your 9th and 10th guys are guys that, hey, you like them, but probably only in the case of injury are they going to play.
And I've thought about this too, because I don't know if they have right now. Let me think. I don't know if they have 6 DBs, 6 to 7 DBs they totally trust. Right. Last year, the reason they played dime last year, I think, in those NASCAR situations is because they had so many great DBs to put on the field. I mean, think about it. The guys that's leaving, they had Jade, they had Makuba, Gavin Holmes in on that dime package. In addition to Taft, they had Jelani McDonald, had Derek Williams for a while too, had Jalen Gilbo for a while, had Malik Muhammad. They were loaded. They're like 8 DBs. They trusted all of them too to be out there to make plays. And I wonder this season if they actually trust the linebackers more, have more linebackers they trust than DBs. And so my theory actually now is that you're going to get less NASCAR dime this year with 6 DBs, and you'll get more NASCAR nickel. Just because they like the linebackers more. They like their linebackers and edges, and they want more of those guys on the field potentially, because I don't know if they have 6 DBs they trust. You got Derek Williams, you got Michael Taft, you got Jelani McDonald, you got Muhammad, you got Gilbo.
5.
You got 5 now. You know what I mean? That's not even considering position. I'm just talking about the 5 DBs.
Right.
Yeah.
And then let's say it comes down to something like this, right? Who would you trust more to be on the field on a critical down? Brad Spence or Wardell Mack?
Exactly. There you go. Great point. That's what you're talking about. Yes.
Or Trey Moore or Jordan Johnson Rebel. It's not a knock on those guys. It's just I'm gonna go with the proven commodity. I'm gonna figure out a way to get my proven commodity on the field.
Yep.
Now, last year we saw, when Texas went into those NASCAR diamond nickels, it was Jahdae Barron that jumped inside next to an Anthony Hill, right?
Yep.
This year, I'm not expecting it to be a corner. I'm expecting it to be one of those guys from the safety room, because you've seen 3 guys at the very least, and who knows what a Jordan Johnson Rubel could turn into, or a Jonah Williams, right? Because we've all kind of picked him to be a guy that Texas puts on the field pretty often. You trust the safety room right now more than the corners because of the proven commodities, because of the guys that have been there before. If I could draw it up and, find a way for it to fit how I envision the NASCAR package right now, it'd be Anthony Hill and it'd be Jelani McDonald, and then you'd have a Derek Williams and a Michael Taft playing back deep, plus a Wardell Mack and a Kobe Black or Jalen Gilbo opposite of Manny Muhammad. That's kind of where I envision it at the moment. That, of course, gives you enough guys on the field that can range. You got basically 3 center fielders playing on the field, plus an Anthony Hill who can blitz and do all sorts of stuff from that second level. And then pick and choose any of the 6 or 7 edge rushers or pass rushing threats to fill in the 4 spots up front. That's kind of how I picture it right now. Of course, we didn't hear a lot about it in the spring. I think Texas is trying to get its base situation defense in first in terms of getting all these new guys up to speed. But that makes a lot of sense to me. And, of course, a lot of that's dependent upon on how Derek Williams recovers, how quickly he's back on the field with everything. But piecing all of that together, I think right now you kind of dip into that safety room a little bit more than you would from the corner room, whereas it was the opposite a year ago.
Yep, I think you're right about this. Good point. Jelani McDonald's they call him the dime linebacker. Jahdae played. I agree. He's that guy right now. But, man, I have these fantasies about Jonah Williams. Texas playing 3 high looks, inverted defender, and that defender is Jonah Williams, just sitting in the middle of the field like a rogue safety that can, got all type of free range ability. Whew, it's freaky, man.
I mean, Matt, if anybody remembers, Greg Eisworth ended up being perfect for that role for John Haycock at Iowa State. Then you consider Jonah's 6'2", 210 pounds. And if you're fast enough to play an outfield position at Dish Falk, you're freaking fast enough. I don't care what you run, right? So you can cover some ground, and we know he can thump. So yeah, I I'm very, very excited about that, Rod.
Yeah, no, trust me, I get titillated thinking about it. There you go. All right, let's talk about something else that titillates me. Our friends over at South Point Dodge. That's right. Especially the sales they're offering right now. Nobody can beat the real deal that South Point Dodge is offering right now. They're offering employee incentive pricing. That's right. You pay what the employees pay. That's the real deal from our friends over at South Point Dodge. They have over 600 vehicles in stock right now, including the all-new 2025 Jeep Wrangler. Get the real deal today and drive away in the Jeep Wrangler, a vehicle built for adventure. Score big today at South Point Dodge. And don't forget the employee discount. That's right. You get the employee discount. You pay what the employees pay with employee incentive pricing. You won't find a better deal than that, than our friends over at South Point Dodge. So remember, head on over there off I-35 in South Austin. You can check out their fantastic inventory there, or you can go online at southpointdodge.com and you can check out the inventory there as well. So we appreciate our friends over at South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com. And remember, head on over there and get that employee incentive pricing. Fancy way of saying you get the employee discount at southpointdodge.com. All right, getting back to the questions here. CJ from Tyler says, did you get any vibe we can land Derek Cooper? And what are your thoughts on Crowell?
Yeah, I think Texas made a really strong move with Derek Cooper. Of course, he didn't have a Texas official visit set. I think he actually announced he won't be taking the Penn State visit, and I think that's where the Texas visit will jump in the month of June. Right now, I think it's a longer shot for Isaiah Crowell than it is for Derek Cooper, and that might not have been the case about a month ago, right? Still trying to get Derek Cooper on campus. I've mentioned it all spring. These spring visits for a lot of guys who make their first trip to Austin, this is how you set the kind of those stepping stones. Or if you're who was the Disney character that dropped all the breadcrumbs? Is that Riding Hood? Who is that?
No, I don't know if that's Red. Well, maybe. I don't think so.
You know what I'm talking about? Jack and Jill.
I know the breadcrumb story, but I don't know. Somebody's getting chat. Got to help us out.
I don't know. Texas on these trips, to my point, these spring visits, they're dropping breadcrumbs, right? They're making sure that when these guys come back, they know the path, they know their way around campus, and ultimately, whenever it comes to the official visits, Texas does a very good job at making this a familiar spot. Is it Hansel and Gretel?
Hansel and Gretel. There you go.
Thank you. That would have pulled from the past, but look, that's kind of what I'm liking this as, just a familiar ground for when these guys get back on the campus. You saw it last year with Josiah Sharma, Myron Charles, Jamie French, a lot of out-of-state guys who didn't necessarily have a familiar trip or experience with Texas. Just get them on campus beforehand, and we'll see what happens come the official. As we know, when you got 17 Lamborghinis parked out front of Moncrief, Texas puts on a show. So we'll see what that's like again this spring or this summer, excuse me. But right now, I think Texas did a very fine job of making Derek Cooper feel like a priority. And credit to Chad Scott here, because the day that he took the Texas job, that evening he was on the phone with Derek Cooper saying, "Hey, we got to get you down to Texas. You're going to be a guy that we're going to recruit." So credit to him and the Texas staff for acting quickly on that one, because that's a really, really impressive looking kid, having watched him walk into the facility. Yeah, screams 5-star, looked just like CJ Baxter a few years ago.
Yeah, I'll add too, that's why I think the spring visits are so effective for Texas, because it's not like a junior day where it's the dog and pony show and there's all the cars out front and you're getting the kind of the lights and maybe some smoke and mirrors. It's about it's meetings, it's practice, it's what goes on post practice, it's really is kind of like a day in the life of a Texas football player with kind of there's some frills, but I mean it's really a pretty honest look at what you're going to experience. So given the number, you think back to last spring, whether it was Jamie French or Josiah Sharma or Myron Charles, the number of guys that came on spring visits that they made up ground with, that they ended up getting in the class at some point. I think Sark and his staff do a great job with those spring practice visits.
All right, good stuff, guys.
Maybe a little too well, if you ask Nick Brooks.
Oh, another Nick Brooks jab. Oh man, yeah, Snitch Brooks, I think that they call him now.
Oh,
sorry, I'm sorry. I apologize to you. I'm just joking. John says, is Neil Brown an on the field coach? Is the analyst restriction no longer valid since teams can have unlimited coaches? They changed both of the rules, right? You can have unlimited coaches, and they can also be on the field now too.
Yeah, you can still have your analysts that grind away tape and help you plan. this is the benefit. Like this would have been huge. I wonder how this would have helped in too. Like if Paul Christ had been able to get in there and coach. If Gary Patterson had been hands on,
that would have been
the fact that Neil Brown's hands on. I mean, I go back to what Sark said, man. The being able to get the opinion of somebody seeing practice through the eyes of a head coach, it's that is invaluable.
Yep, I agree, and I love that he's got him, like I said, working a little bit with Arch too. As he is a former quarterback coach himself, and like you said, he's got those coaches' eyes. Head coaches are looking for certain things. DKW David Keith Williams has a question here. He says, Jeff Howe, CJ, is Nick Brooks a left tackle? I view him more as a right tackle. Looking down the road, I wonder if John Turntine and Felix Ojo, hopefully, are competing for left tackle in 2026. Thanks, DKW. Always got great questions and comments. What are you guys' thoughts about what David Keith Williams had to say?
Yeah, I think coming into the start of spring, I think the position in which you saw Nick Brooks start, you could have picked about 4, right? Just about everywhere but center, and it would have made sense. Of course, he played left tackle in high school, but his size, you normally don't see that level of body, if you will, play the left tackle spot. So right tackle is kind of where I anticipated it. Of course, I think he just exceeded everybody's expectations just immediately before the start of spring football even began. And Cal Flores said, hey, we got to get this guy out at left tackle. We have to see what he can do. And very early on, we heard that he was taking second-team snaps at left tackle. So right now, if that's the case, I think that's absolutely going to be the spot for him after Trevor Gooseby. And then whoever's to come, hey, you're going to have to battle uphill just as you would about anywhere else if you're going to go, if you're a 5-star guy, whether it be Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Georgia's. You're going to have talented guys in front of you. Right now, it does sound like Nick Brooks, left tackle, is going to be a home for him at some point in his Texas career.
All right.
So you'd have to be Nick Brooks' size. If you think about guys that size that have been left tackles, like I think of the first 2 guys that come to my mind, like Orlando Pace, Jonathan Ogden, where you're like, legitimately like 6'7", somewhere between like 330 and 345, 350. You can do it, but to be a left tackle long term at that size, you got to be a Hall of Fame level athlete, pretty much. So,
yeah, no, you're right about that. I once saw Jonathan Ogden up close on the football field. I've never seen a bigger human being in my life. He looked like something out of Game of Thrones. Like it was wild. Right. All right. So no matter what kind of athlete you are, you might need some help with aches and pains you're dealing with. And right now, let's hear what if you have any aches and pains. Here is a message from our good friends over at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
Thank you very much, Advanced Pain Care. Hey, Advanced Pain Care, y'all should try to get all the Texas quarterbacks to come do those. Because I guarantee you, some of those guys are cheaper than Colt and BY. You know what I mean? You should try to make it a trend, just getting all the quarterbacks. Go get Peter the Great. Go get all the old Texas quarterbacks. Go get Chance Mock. Go get them all. You know what I mean? Just bring them on Advanced Pain Care. You know what I mean? I think it could be like a thing. And Longhorn fans, we can relate to that. All right, let's get back to, we got 2 more questions before we get to the end of our live stream. CB wants to know, is Arch the first true dual threat Sark has had at quarterback since Jake Locker at Washington? It's a good question, CB.
I feel like Hudson Card was a good enough athlete.
That's true.
A true dual threat. Of course, this thing is he's just never healthy that first year, right? Also lost the job to Casey Thompson. So he was certainly a fine enough athlete to be a dual threat. But yeah, there aren't many. I don't know.
No, I think you're right. I mean, Sark does it. Listen, Sark mocks running quarterbacks, guys. Remember, he would always be like, we don't major in the quarterback run game, right? Don't major in the quarterback run game. And I think he means that. I think 2 things are taking place. Number one, I think the quarterback position is changing, and thus his evaluations must change. The quarterback position is way more athletic than it used to be now.
Yeah.
Like there is very few quarterbacks out there that are pocket passers. Even I would say the most immobile quarterbacks, they have functional mobility now, at least. So I think that's happening because better athletes are now playing quarterback. And I think another thing is, I think Sark studies the game. I think he is a football theorist, which means he's always studying the game, trying to predict where the game is going to go, right? And trying to get ahead of it wherever the game is evolving. And guys, I've been telling you guys for a while now, the scramble is the most effective play in football. In the NFL, the average scramble averages more yards than the average pass. It is the best cheat code in football today. If you don't have it available to you, which Sark has not had it available to him at Texas, you're almost doing yourself a disservice. It's like it's a cheat code. You're working harder, not smarter. And I think he recognizes that too.
Yeah. Sark had a type. If you look at his trajectory as a coach, look at his time at USC, what they inherited when he got there with Pete Carroll. They inherited Carson Palmer, right? And then you look at the quarterbacks thereafter, it's Matt Leinart and Matt Castle's in that group, Mark Sanchez. So it's kind of the Trey Owens. It's the 6'4", 6'5", 225, 230-pound dude that can just, fire piss missiles all over the field. Like that was the type. Alabama, it's a little bit different. You got guys with some functional mobility, with the exception where Sark never really got, other than that one game where he coached Jalen Hurts in the national championship game where he's a play caller. Tua, Mac Jones, Bryce Young, they were more of like the functional mobility type guys. And I think it's pretty safe to say, if you don't count the one game with Jalen Hurts and that 1 year Sark spent at Bama as an analyst, except for the championship game, Arch is the best athlete at quarterback Sark has coached since Jake Locker. I don't think there's a question about that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, Arch would be a tight end if his arm fell off today, right?
6'4", 225.
He looks it though. When you see him in person, you almost go, oh damn, he's every bit of it. Like they're not exaggerating his height and his weight. Like no, he's thick too.
Yeah.
Like Quinn wasn't thick. Like you never talk Quinn and go, oh, Quinn's kind of slight. No, Arch is thick. He's thick with it. So I think that he's a different style of quarterback. That's why they trusted him in that Arch package where basically he was a short yardage weapon. All right. Thank you for that. Last question before we get to the end of our live stream here. Cloris, thank you. Cloris, appreciate the question. Guys, is there a position that you thought Texas could have addressed besides the guys coming in? I truly wished we had gone after a cornerback. Thank you, Cloris. We appreciate that. You guys think about any other position that Texas could have acquired or inquired about via the transfer portal?
The only one, and again, you have to work with what the portal gives you. I wouldn't have minded to see them kicking the tires on a running back just to be sure you're not missing anything. Because in a 16, 17 game season, the brutality that position experiences.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to get to a point where late in the season, like you're down to two backs or whatever. So again, maybe just for numbers, or somebody brought something different to the table, but I don't know if you're anywhere else, CJ, but other than running back, there's probably nothing I would have done.
Yeah, running back, I thought from the start would have been pretty tough. Just, should CJ Baxter come back, you've got 6 guys in that room that you've got to compete with. And if you're producing at another school at a similar level, why would you go to Texas, right? They got a steady room. They've got guys that have rushed for 1,000 yards or been level guys. It makes sense that in my eyes, that there wouldn't have been a hot market at Texas for running backs in the portal. The other one I was thinking about is wide receiver. I've said it since day one of spring. A Silas Bolden-esque wide receiver would have made a lot of sense to me. Maybe just a gadget guy that you can throw punts. And right now, look, we're hearing defensive guys take and field punts for the first time since Sarkisian's taken over. Right? That's Warren Roberson sometimes. It's Ryan Hill.
Yeah. CJ, your pick satisfies the areas I was thinking about. A guy that can be kind of a slot guy, preferably with punt return experience. So maybe not even a running back, but I think we're both saying the same thing. Kind of, if I get away from what I said, which thank you for guiding me in that direction, it would be kind of a third down guy, if you will.
Gadget guy,
preferably one that's got punt return experience.
Yeah.
If Kavontae Turpin was in the portal this year, I would have thrown whatever he wanted at him.
Hell yes.
Yeah. No, yeah, that Keelan Robinson kind of guy. Yeah. No, I CJ, you've been on that for a couple of weeks now, and I totally agree with you. Maybe longer than that, because I agree.
I know. I've been saying I sound like I'm beating a dead horse here, but we just watched 15 practices or heard about 15 practices this year. I don't know who's going to be returning kicks. I think it's DeAndre Moore. I don't know who's going to be returning punts. It's basically pull a name out of a hat, and we'll see if they're able to do it. So
didn't you say that? Didn't you say Warren Roberson? They even gave him kind of a try, threw him out there.
Warren Roberson, Ryan Niblett. I think Dalen McCutcheon's in that conversation. We heard Ryan Wingo, or at least we saw him. The first practice was, but I don't think you want Ryan Wingo to be back there on punt. We'll see if Aaron Butler.
He can do
something. Can we clone? Get in the lab, clone Ramonce Taylor, and put him in this program with Sark's culture?
Hey, I would take that. Now, Ramonce Taylor, though, that ain't no gadget guy to me. I put him all over the place. That's not. I would make him my movable chess piece, man.
The last guy I can remember on Texas on offense that really had no true position. He lined up all over the damn place.
I was gonna say, yeah, man. If we're that's a question for another day. That if we could have any of those great players back on this team, who would it be? That's a different question for a different
Casey Hampton's my all-time answer. So.
That's exactly. That would work for any damn team. All right. Thank you guys for the super chats and the questions. Oh, one little comment here before we get out. David Keith Williams says, I think saying Arch is a dual threat quarterback would be like saying Andrew Luck was a dual threat quarterback. QBs with ability to make plays, running the ball doesn't necessarily mean they're dual threat quarterbacks. I agree with DKW. We'll throw it out there. He's not. By the way, Sark won't use him like that, so he's not dual threat. He's just a quarterback that can run.
I will disagree from this standpoint. My definition of a dual threat quarterback is: can you design a run game around his skill set? Can you have a run game package that's utilized within his skill set?
You could, but Sark ain't gonna do it. Sark don't have a very small amount of plays.
Yeah.
Design.
No, I think Arch is a dual threat. We won't see him used like a true dual threat though. He can be used like the way Tom Herman used Sam. Put it that way.
Well, then, Bam Bam Sam? Yeah, you're getting that. All right, let's thank our final sponsor of the evening, our friends over at Von Lane. You Texas cities, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, DFW. I've tried it, and trust me, folks, now I travel the much smarter way to travel, which is with Von Lane. Let's face it, flying is a hassle. Security lines, you got packed gates, you got delayed flights, you got the ridiculously overpriced items in an airport, all for what? A 60-minute flight's not worth it. The stress levels are through the roof. You'll thank me later. Driving isn't much better as well because you've tried that same day round trip between Houston and Dallas or Austin and San Antonio. That's hours of lost productivity, emails piling up, calls going unanswered, and work left undone while you try to focus on the road, dealing with traffic jams and dealing with road rage. Why waste a day when you can stay connected and productive with Von Lane? Von Lane changes everything. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels. Sink into a plush leather seat. You have a leg rest. You'll stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi. Enjoy complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures. And if you need to freshen up, you'll indulge in hot towel service. They also have eye masks and pillows and blankets to keep you cozy. The Von Lane team will take care of every detail so you can sit back, relax, unwind, and enjoy the most comfortable travel experience on the road today. And if you're planning a special trip, guys trip, gals trip, bachelor party, bachelorette party, football game, concert, or special event, you can charter your own Von Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Von Lane is first-class travel without hassle. See for yourself. Visit vonlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. Use the promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip with Von Lane. Thank you very much, Von Lane. I've actually used it myself several times traveling to Houston and DFW, so I would recommend it. No, that's the only way I travel to Houston and to DFW if I can help it. So I appreciate Von Lane for sponsoring On Texas Football and sponsoring our Wednesday night live stream. All right, thank you for the super chats, guys. Thank you for the questions as well. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He is the real MVP. If we missed any of your questions or comments, I apologize about that. Please direct them to the gentleman at Coffee and Football tomorrow morning at 8:15. It'll be Jerry and Bobby bright and early. And also tomorrow we'll have our Thursday, we'll have the winning drive at 3:15. So myself, CJ Vogel, and the coach, Bob Shipley, will be live with you at 3:15 tomorrow. So for Matthew and for Jeff and for CJ, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Welcome.